The following case study contains confidential information included for the purpose of the assessment of professional competence. The client's details have been removed due to confidentiality agreements, and they are referred to throughout this report as the client. Introduction. The project comprises the redevelopment of a single-storey retail unit, which involved the fit-out of an existing empty shell for the client to provide a standard specification store, achieving 75% net sales space from a gross internal floor area of 32,000 square feet. The site is located in Dundrum in the Republic of Ireland, within a busy retail outlet with occupying tenants adjacent to the works. The client is an international retailer experienced in this type of project, and this store forms part of their wider expansion plan, being one of 5 new stores in the Republic of Ireland. Project details. Contract sum approximately £1.7 million. Contract duration 8 weeks. Form of contract JCT intermediate with contractor's design portion. Collateral warranties and bonds with landlord benefit. And construction category A and B fit out with steel frame structure and composite cladding. My involvement and responsibilities. I was involved in the project during the design development stage and attended design team meetings to suggest value engineering options and review the contractor's proposals. I liaised with the design team to obtain the information on the condition of the existing building shell in order to generate a scope of works and update the cost plans accordingly. Once the design was complete and cost plans finalised, the client approved the project for tender. I was involved in negotiating tenders on behalf of my client using approved suppliers listed under a JCT framework agreement. I was also involved in post-contract duties, administering the change control procedure, conducting valuations, and producing cost reports. My approach. Key issue 1, background. Following agreement of the feasibility with the client, cost targets were set for each element of work with the aim of being within 5% cost accuracy. However, on receipt of tenders for fire sprinkler and detection equipment, both prices appeared to be inflated and were circa 42% and 72% above the cost limits respectively. It was initially thought that the inflated tender prices received were caused by a lack of pricing competition within the framework. Budget versus tender comparison. And for anybody feeling really overwhelmed or daunted by the APC, I am offering my APC Mentorship Programme in the link below, and the whole idea behind this is just try to make the APC as stress-free as possible, just breaking everything down into manageable steps that you can follow along with each month. I'll give you the best advice that I can in there that's helped hundreds of candidates gain chartered status over the last 10 years. So every member receives a free copy of the Q&A study guide. This includes over 1,000 questions to help you prepare for your APC, in addition to successful examples of case studies and summary of experience that you can use in order to assist you with populating your own documentation. Budget versus tender comparison. As both tenders were significantly above the agreed cost targets, it caused issues for my client and did not appear to represent good value for money. I conducted a tender analysis to determine why they appeared inflated by firstly reviewing quantities against the drawings and checking to see if any rate loading or computation errors were apparent. It was obvious that detection and sprinkler equipment for installation within the ceiling void were abnormally high. I subsequently forwarded the contractor's design onto the client's fire safety consultant, who confirmed that the high levels of sprinkler and fire detection equipment within the void were necessary, as the ceiling void depth was in excess of 800 mm due to an irregular layout of structural beams above the sales floor. Key issue 1. What options are available in order to reduce the cost of the fire alarm and sprinkler protection works? I was involved in advising the client on the various options available to them as a result of the aforementioned key issue. Evaluation of options available. Option 1. The works would be re-tendered through single-stage selective tendering in accordance with the RICS Tendering Strategies Guidance Note, with 6 contractors shortlisted by myself and sent to the client for their approval. Option summary. This option was considered as it would have been beneficial to gain competitive tenders based on current market rates with local suppliers based in the Republic of Ireland. The suppliers listed within the client's framework were based in England, and their tenders were subject to a percentage uplift to cover the additional cost of working in Ireland. Reason rejected. Whilst this option would have provided competitive tender prices and a potential discount on the tenders initially received, an impending commencement date did not afford sufficient time to conduct the necessary pre-qualification and tender interviews in order to add additional suppliers onto the client framework and negotiate a contract sum. This option was therefore not practical and was quickly dismissed. Option 2. Omit the suspended grid ceiling above the sales floor to negate the need for fire sprinkler void protection and reduce the quantity of fire detection equipment. Option summary. Omitting the suspended grid above the sales floor would have eradicated the ceiling void, meaning that all void sprinkler equipment could be omitted and less fire detection equipment would be required. The exposed surfaces above the sales floor would need to be sprayed out for decorative purposes, but the cost savings achieved by omitting the suspended grid ceiling and void protection equipment would have achieved a net saving of circa £24,500. Reason rejected. Omission of the suspended grid ceiling would have left mechanical and electrical surfaces exposed above the sales floor in the line of sight of customers. Whilst we proposed that these surfaces were sprayed out to match the structural soffit for decorative purposes, this design was not in keeping with the client's standard specification, and despite the prospect of achieving significant savings, was rejected by the client's design team. Option 3. Increase the ceiling height to reduce the void depth to less than 800mm in order to omit the sprinkler void protection and reduce fire detection equipment. There is also a free diary template in the link below which will allow you to track and record your day-to-day surveying experience for your APC diary. This is provided in Excel format, and it does also include a progress dashboard, and this dashboard will allow you to highlight any shortfalls in your experience. You can then work to address these shortfalls to ensure that you have an even spread of experience across your competencies, which is key to be successful when working towards your APC. So please do check that out if that's of interest. This is provided completely free of charge, and it's helped hundreds of candidates successfully gain chartered status over the last 10 years. Option summary. By raising the ceiling height over the sales floor to 3.82 metres, increased from 3.2 metres, a ceiling void space of less than 790mm will be formed. And with the advice of the client's fire safety consultant, this would mean that the sprinkler protection within the ceiling void could be omitted and fire detection equipment reduced. Proposed solution for key issue 1. With the consent of the client's design team and fire safety consultants, I proposed that the ceiling height above the sales floor was raised to 3.82 metres, and this meant that sprinkler void protection could be omitted and detection equipment was significantly reduced, while still providing the client with the desired store layout with provision of a suspended ceiling for aesthetic purposes. A bulkhead and lowered section of ceiling was formed around the irregular beams, which still required fire sprinkler and detection equipment. However, this still resulted in a significant saving as fire sprinklers above the remaining sales floor were no longer required. Conclusion for key issue 1. It was thought that this option provided the best outcome in terms of delivering improved value for money, the correct client store layout, and also mitigated any delays and risks if the work had been re-tendered with local but unfamiliar suppliers. The client was satisfied with this solution, and the savings achieved of £20,710 and £23,474 on sprinkler and fire detection tender prices respectively. Reflective analysis of key issue 1. Why did the problem arise? The initial site visit was undertaken by a colleague who had previously left the company, and when reporting findings from the first visit, the irregular nature of the structural beam layout was not mentioned within their report. The structural beam layout caused a need to allow provision for additional fire protection and caused higher than anticipated tender prices. The tendering contractors were based in mainland UK and were entitled to a percentage uplift to cover the additional costs of working within the Republic of Ireland. These costs would not have been incurred had the contracts had the contractors been raised in the Republic of Ireland. The lack of time apportioned to undertaking the tendering process meant I was unable to competitively tender the works, which could have delivered further savings. How could this have been prevented? As the initial site visit was undertaken by a colleague, I was unaware of the layout and depth of structural beams. If attending site, I would have been sure to pay particular attention in measuring the depth of structural beams from soffit height. This would have allowed the cost of void protection to be estimated more accurately at feasibility stage. The client would then have been able to make a fully informed decision in whether to proceed with the acquisition of the unit by knowing in advance the cost of void protection was likely to be inflated in comparison to other stores. If additional time had been allocated for the tendering process, the works could have been competitively tendered with suppliers based in the Republic of Ireland, negating the need to pay an uplift to suppliers based in mainland UK. Lessons learned. A key lesson learned is the importance of undertaking an in-depth site survey to determine the risks associated with proceeding with the project. This would have highlighted the irregular structural beam layout prior to preparing the feasibility study and allowed the client to make a fully informed decision on whether to proceed with the acquisition of the unit. And to access the full copy of this successful case study example, please use the link in the description below. And for more of a detailed tutorial on how to write up your case study to a really high standard, please check out this video.